Well, welcome back, everybody. It is the Melanie Mitro Show. It's part two of a series where I am walking you through the last 12 months and actually more than 12 months as I've been unpacking the life lessons as I've gone through a big transition in my career and in my life. And today we're getting into the build. We're getting into ground zero, starting over. What does it look like? How did we get to where we are today? And how is this story shaping up? So if you're a new listener here, make sure you go back and listen to part one. It'll really help you. It'll set the stage for what I'm about to share today. And I also just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for listening to the Melanie Mitro Show. I have been doing this podcast for, I want to say 8 years now. We have over 8 million downloads at this point on the show. And I just truly feel incredibly blessed to have this platform to share not only my journey and my story, but all of the practical tips and tools that have helped me to grow my direct sales business. So today we're taking a deep dive into what is it like to start over? What is it like to build again? And actually, I was having a conversation with John, who's doing all the filming for me. And he's like, did you really have to start over? And I'm like, yeah, we really started over from absolutely zero, all brand new over the last year. And I'm going to walk you through it. So in part one, I just want to kind of recap, leading up to the decision, leading up to kind of that moment where we were going to have to build again was gut wrenching. And for somebody that struggles with anxiety, this was a rough chapter and rough season of my life. And I just remember there were so many days in those first few months that I was like, oh my gosh, I think my heart is literally going to explode. There was a lot of pressure. I had built a full-time income, sole provider of our family, and our income was very much was impacted in the way that we lived, was very much impacted by our business. And so this was a huge life shift. And so today I want to walk you through what company we chose and what it looked like to build in the new space. And so here we are, October 8th, right? So October 8th is the day that we made the decision that we were going to build again, right? So that was actually the 1-year anniversary. October 8th was the 1-year anniversary of us making that decision to come here. And I want to walk you through first, how did I come upon this decision, right? How did I actually make a decision? Where did I want to go? Because I get asked this all of the time. And I remember early on, I made a 7-minute video that was like, why did I choose this company? What were my reasons why? Because that was the number one question. People wanted to know why. Why did I want to build again? Who was I partnering with? Why did I want to align myself in this new space? So the company that I partnered with is called Shackley. They are a 70-year-old company. They're actually celebrating their 70th anniversary. And this upcoming year, which is 2026 will be their 70th anniversary. And they have this incredible proven track record. They actually were the first to create the multivitamin here in the US. They're known for their quality supplements. They have studies upon clinical studies just proving that people who take Shackley supplements actually have better health outcomes and better biomarkers in their blood work than people who just take shelf or store-bought supplements. And so they also have just generations of people that have been in the business. And I went to my first convention. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself back in June of 2024 or 2025. And it was incredible to see the 80 and 90-year-olds that were in the Shackley convention with their walkers, and they were vibrant and energetic and excited to be there, and they were mobile, right? It just to hear the mission, to talk about living age-free and to live younger longer is one thing. To hear a mission statement, but to physically see the mission statement in action in the older generations was just mind blowing. So we'll dive more into that. But Shackley's been around for a while, and it's a company that is multi-generational. They've passed the company down, to generations, kids and grandkids. And so that was a big reason why I was so attracted to Shackley was this track record that they had. So when I think about, okay, what did I sit down with my checklist as I was deciding where I wanted to go? First of all, there had to be products that I could see myself using every single day. I am somebody that has been on a clean journey, right? Clean living, exercise, wellness for 14 years now. And just more recently in the last 4 or 5 years, I really went down this path of anti-inflammatory. I was having a lot of fatigue and chronic headaches and skin issues and brain fog and a lot of stomach issues. And so I started working with a holistic practitioner. I started to change my diet, changed my supplements, and completely transformed my day-to-day health, like energy through the roof, no more brain fog. Lost, 15 pounds by really changing my nutrition and the way that I looked at life. And so I knew, okay, if I partner with a company, they have to have clean and non-toxic supplements, has to be clean and non-toxic wellness, because that's who I am. So product line, as I started to look through Shaklee's products, I'm like, oh, I already use a clean skincare brand. Let me swap it for Shaklee's. I already take this number of supplements. They have them at Shaklee. Let me swap those out. And so I could easily begin to see myself using those products. So that was really kind of the next part was, can I see myself using the products? Then I started to look at the company's leadership. And as somebody who built a lot of the trainings and resources for my prior company, it's not that I didn't want to do it again, but I really wanted to come in and there to be already a foundation there for them to have kind of worked out some of the bugs before I had to come into that. And I knew some of the executives from my previous company, and they were some of the people that I respected most in the industry. They were people that I knew ran really good sales teams, that were just good people in terms of their business philosophy and the way that they showed up and served other people. And so that was kind of the second thing. I'm like, all right, I'm stepping into leadership that is solid. I'm stepping into leadership that has a lot of the same core values, and the company already has a lot of systems in place. So I'm not going to be building those systems while I'm also learning a new compensation in a new company. So that was kind of the next step. And then the other thing that I really looked at was the compensation plan. And, I want to preface by saying I'm sharing what was important to me. So if you ever have to go down the path of choosing which company you want to align with, you should also have a checklist of your core values. These are the boxes that are non-negotiable. These are the things that you're willing to bend on. And that was where I was. There were things that were non-negotiable. There were things that I was like, I can deal with it. And that was really how I made my decision. So looking at compensation, one of the biggest things that I see in the network marketing industry, and what was really broken with the company that I came from, was that really the only way that you could earn a significant income was through team building. And the company rewarded a lot for team building. And that was how you kind of got up into the upper tiers. And I saw so many incredible leaders that had these really big followings that could retail like a boss. They were so good at retailing. I mean, I would make sure that I was in the rooms with those people just so that I could pick their brain and ask them questions about how they were getting sales and how they were doing social media. And they had a lot of value, but they didn't feel valued in the company because they weren't building a downline, because that wasn't their strong suit. And I watched a lot of bitterness begin to happen and people step out of the industry because they weren't being rewarded for being a really, really solid seller. And so one of the things I loved about the company was they had just redone their compensation plan. And 18 months before we actually showed up on scene, they had created a path where you could get to more of the top of the compensation plan through retail. You could earn more commissions the more that you sold. You could earn trips and incentives based on selling, and you could also earn based on building a team. So you could pick your path, and your path could be both. You didn't have to choose retail or team building. You could actually work all of your strengths and weaknesses together to build a really well-rounded team. And for me, that was important. Even though for me, team building was something I loved and was passionate about, I knew that a lot of great people in the industry were only going to want to come in and retail. And I wanted to give them a place where they could win. So we get down to all of the bigger areas. And now it was time for me to meet the CEO. And I got to meet our CEO, Roger Barnett. He came to Pittsburgh on a Saturday morning to meet my husband and we sat down at the table, and I had known a few leaders in my time that I had worked with. And the one thing about Roger that I instantly felt a difference was that he cared. And I didn't feel like I was being sold to. I didn't feel like there was a used car salesman sitting across the table from me trying to talk me into this company. Instead, he was sharing with me his vision, why he was the CEO of this company, how he was raised as an individual who, number one, you either give of your time and your money and your resources to other people, right? So that they can go out and build their businesses. Or he's like, you either give of your time or you give of your resources. And he's like, I want to give back. I believe in community marketing. I believe in the network marketing space. And I believe that we can improve people's health outcomes, but we can only do it through network marketing. This is the only way that this business model will work. And over a decade ago, he sought out Shackley. He actually bought Shackley because he wanted to own a business that was on the prevention side of the healthcare system, because he wants to be able to create a difference in the lives of other people. And it was just the first time that I felt like there was this genuineness, this like he really cared. He loves the mission. You could feel it. You could feel it. Because when you've talked to enough people, you know when somebody's being honest and genuine, and when somebody is just telling you what they think you are going to need to hear in order to say yes. And so for me, after really looking at all of those factors and going back to some of the people that I knew were interested in aligning themselves to wherever I was going to go, and we all were a resounding yes, this is the right decision. This is the right place to go. And for me, there was no other company that even came close. And I think startups are great. And I know a lot of people that have gone to a more recent startup, but for where I was at in my life, that just wasn't something that I was really wanting to do. I had built a startup. I had built another company. And I just was like, in this season of my life, I needed a little more stability. I needed something that already had its legs underneath of it, that I could just come in and do what I do best. And that's build teams, that's lead, that's teach other people how to build a solid foundation. So on October 8th, we made the decision. We decided we were signing up with Shackley, and there began the journey. And the one thing that I will say is that moment where I decided that I was going to build again, there were a few important things that I was like, if I'm going to do this again, it's going to be different. Because there's all these rumblings in the industry of burnout and hustle. And the only way to be successful is if you work 24/7 and you never turn off your phone, and you sell your soul to the business, and you neglect your family. And I knew that it didn't need to be that way. And I knew that because I had gone through that burnout season. I had gone through that working hard season. And then I had gone through a period of 7-8 years where I studied high performers. I studied time management. I studied boundaries and priorities, because I was in a season of my life when I was building my second company where I wanted to be highly successful, but I wanted to be a really present mom and wife. So I had done it. And now as I stepped into this third business, I was like, we're going to rewrite the story. We're going to show people there's another way. We're going to show people that you can be highly successful with really healthy boundaries. I am going to show people that they don't have to hustle, that it can be a peaceful build, that you don't have to say yes to everything, that you can align yourself in a new way. And so as I started really beginning to come back online, to share where I was going, to share how I was doing it differently, that was one of my core values, is we are building different. And one of the phrases that I started to use was the peaceful pivot, because the whole world in our industry was chaotic in that moment. And I was like, no, if we're going to build again, we're going to do it differently. We're going to build with intentionality. We're going to build with professionalism. We are going to have strong core values. We're going to operate with integrity. And we're going to make sure that we aren't saying yes to things because we don't want to have FOMO. We're saying yes to things because they're aligned to the brand and the way we want to build. And so I was able to take all of the years of building and working with other people in the industry, and I was able to help customize the plan for each one of my new leaders based off of their strengths, their gifts, and how they wanted to build in a new season. And we set out to rewrite the way that network marketing is done. And it was about not performing for what everybody else wants you to do. It was about showing up and planting your flag in a new space and saying, we're going to do it differently. And if you love the industry, you love what it's done for you in your life, we want to open the door and invite you to come in and join us, because we're building in a new space and it's aligned and we want you to be a part of it. And so that kind of brings us to the opening of the doors, right? The peaceful pivot. We're doing it differently. And people just really were craving that. They were craving community. They were craving something different. They were craving a place where they could be seen, they could be heard, that it was a complement to their life. They weren't just online talking about, I'm building peacefully and I'm, and it's successful and I have freedom, but people that really had freedom. And that was so important to me. I never wanted to come across, and I still don't ever want to come across as I'm only showing you the highlight reel. And we worked really hard over the last year to really walk people through what it's like to build again. So here we are, we're in the peaceful pivot. It's the first 90 days. And was it peaceful? Yes and no. I feel like this is the part where I need to be really honest and I need to be really transparent with you, is because anytime you're trying to break old habits and you're trying to do something new, like I want to build peacefully, I want to attract high quality leaders, your old wiring is constantly fighting you. So here we are, hundreds of us moving into this new space, and we are battling. We're battling this old wiring, the old wiring of FOMO, and I have to say yes to everything, and I've got to be online 24/7. And we're battling the way that we used to build a business. And we're like, no, if it's going to be peaceful, what are the stories that we need to let go, and how are we going to replace it with more empowering and new stories? And so this first 90 days, this first 120 days were really a journey to rewriting the narrative, to giving up control. And for me, I think every single day in my journal, I wrote, I surrender. I surrender to you and to your plan. Who do you want in my life? And every time I start to get anxious of, do I have enough people? Did I sign up enough? Did I sell enough? I was like, Lord, please show me the leaders. Please bring to me the people that I'm supposed to have in my life. Please, create space between the people I'm not supposed to have, and bring the people that I'm supposed to have. And slowly but surely, because of our obedience, because we really embraced this peaceful pivot, because we stood really firm on who we wanted to work with, that we didn't want drama, and we wanted people that have integrity and that were professional and that were hardworking, but also loved their families, we started to attract those people. We started to attract people, and it was just like they were falling out of the sky, and as we were sharing and as we were hosting events, one by one, people came forward and said, I want to do this with you. I align with your message. I love what you're sharing. I want to be a part of it. I had a bad experience in the past. I had a lot of people that were like, Melanie, I would have never joined you in Beachbody, but because you're here, I align with this mission and I want to do this in this season with you. And so, I watched as we transitioned from kind of being in the valley and we don't know what to expect, to our team instantly just shot up through the ranks. And within 2 months of planting at Shackley, we achieved the top rank in the company. And I watched my team just soar with their confidence. And so many people that had lost their entire income were building back. And I was beginning to see this glimmer of hope in an industry where so many people were beginning to doubt. So now, here we are. It's been a whole year. And I will say one of the pieces of advice, I wouldn't say the biggest, one of the pieces of advice I'd like to give to somebody that's starting over. And I'm actually grateful for starting over, because it really put me back in the shoes of somebody that is building a business for the first time. Even though I have industry experience, I had to learn a whole new back office. I had to learn a whole new compensation plan, a whole new product suite, a whole new set of just rules and regulations for how to do business. And at the same time, I really started to pivot my entire brand. And it reminded me what it's actually like to be a beginner. And I think so often we forget that that part is really messy. So if you're starting over or you're starting for the first time, allow yourself to be messy in the process. The best advice I can give is I took one just faith-filled step at a time. It was just one foot in front of the other. It was just every day get up and post, every day share my heart, every day just unboxing. Here's the products that I'm using. Here's the products I'm loving. Here's the parts about the business that is really setting my soul on fire. And I branded the build as I was building. And anybody, whether you're new or you're seasoned, brand the build. Whatever you're building, it doesn't even have to be a direct sales business, but people love a front row seat to what you're doing and how you're doing it. So how I've built this business in this season has been very much like, come alongside of me. It's going to be messy. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to show you what I'm doing. And I'm going to show you how I'm doing it differently. And I'm going to be really forthright and really honest about what I liked in the last season, what I didn't like, and what I won't, what I'm not willing to sacrifice going into this new season. And that was really powerful because there were a handful of people that came along at the very beginning. But I found some of my best leaders in the months that followed because they watched me not just talk about a peaceful pivot, but live the peaceful pivot. And they watched me build new systems and scale new leadership and talk about just, the way that I wanted to level up. And because I had this blank slate, I was able to say, who do I want to be in this new season? And for me, part of the wrestling for me over the past couple of years is just stepping into who I authentically am. I am that girl that's really polished. I am that girl that maybe is a little extra bougie and likes nice things. And for a really long time, I apologized for that because I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to be too seen or too visible. And I realized that by me shrinking down and me being quiet, I was doing myself a disservice because I wasn't being my full self. I wasn't out there boldly sharing my love for the industry because I didn't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. And so with this blank slate and this fresh start, it gave me an opportunity to say, who is Melanie? And I went down this whole path of completely rebranding myself and really sitting down and saying, okay, the next version, the 2.0 version of Melanie Mitro, who is she? And that's really where you can see the Mitro method, which is coming in the next couple of months. You'll be hearing more about that. That's getting ready to launch. That's really where the Women Inspiring Women, that was the name of my podcast before I transitioned it to the Melanie Mitro Show. The whole thing got a glow up. And I really started to say, I want to attract women that are professional. I want to attract women that have a killer work ethic, that are not afraid to work hard, but also have some really good boundaries and have good core values, in relationships with their kids and their spouses. And so the more I started to stand in my power and talk in that certain way, I started to attract hardworking women. I started to attract people that were very professional. And my team, which we now call Team Rooted and Rising, as I look around the room, I'm like, there is no drama here. There's none, literally no drama. There are hardworking people who get in, they execute a plan, they show up when it matters most. They're willing to make some sacrifices when the road gets rough, but they're also not afraid to say, hey, I'm out. This isn't aligned to what I want to do. And so the reason that we've built so fast is because I was willing to stand up for what I wanted and who I wanted to work with. And we attracted the right people. On social media, for all of you, you're all marketing. You're marketing your services. You're marketing your business. You're marketing your brand. And if you are not showing up on social authentic to who you want, you end up getting a room full of people that think you're one person when you're really somebody else. And then when push comes to shove, if you're the kind of person that isn't afraid to roll up your sleeves and get to work and do the hard stuff, but you've attracted a lot of people who are just here for the party and here for the good times, You're going to have a lot of people that are like in the witness protection program when the road gets rough, when you come down to the last 48 hours of a big goal. Those are the people that are like, it's not fun anymore. Peace out. I'm not doing this. And so you have to be you, and you have to be really forthright about who you want to work with. And so part of my rebrand coming into 2025 was just that. It was me saying, this is who I want to work with. This is the kind of team that I'm building. And if it doesn't align with you, that's okay. There's another mentor out there, but this is who I want in my space. And that gave so many people on my team permission to go out there and brand themselves. So I was really nervous. I was really nervous that people weren't going to like me. I was really nervous that people were going to unfollow me. I was nervous that people were going to say, you're too much, or why do you need things, or why does that matter to you? I was like really nervous. I mean, I can remember hesitating at even putting out the first post about my brand refresh, thinking, what are other people going to think? I still struggled with it. But the minute I put it out there, my inbox flooded with people that said, thank you. You're giving me permission to be who I want to be, to not play small, to really stand up for what I want and who I want to work with. And I'm watching people that are in my organization or women that I coach in my private coaching programs. I'm just really seeing people step into their power and not be afraid because I went first. You see, this whole past year was about just going first. It was about making a decision that felt scary. It was doing something uncertain. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't know how this was going to work out, but I had faith that God was going to direct my steps and that he was going to continue to close the doors that I wasn't supposed to go down. And he was going to continue to open the doors to the ones that I was supposed to pursue. And over this last year, I have watched all of these miraculous things happen that were only God things. And I look at the people in my life right now, and I look at the caliber of leaders and the friends that I have in my circle. And I think to myself, I would have never met some of these people if I wasn't willing to take that leap of faith. If I would have ignored what Sarah said and was like, oh, Lighthouse, that's cute. Like, I love that you say that for me, but no, that's not for me. All of these people would not have rebuilt a new life. All of these relationships wouldn't have been formed, and people wouldn't be thriving in a new season. So often we think that, oh, it was a good run. I'm done. I hit the height of my career. What more can there possibly be? I'm really glad that I didn't close that door, that I didn't say, because there were some parts of that past life that were good and there were some parts that were not so good, that I'm just going to close myself off. Because direct sales is a beautiful industry. It may not work for everybody. And I know that some people, that it's just not their thing. And I'm not here to talk you into it. But I do know that with the right leadership and the right products and the right community, you can build flexibility, freedom. You can have the life that really allows you to work hard and contribute, but gives you an opportunity to do other things that you want to do. But it gets a bad rap because sometimes we just get stuck on the bad things, or the one leader that maybe did something wrong, or the customer service experience that left a bad taste in your mouth, or that disgruntled person on social media talking about why they don't love the industry. And I just want to challenge people that if you love what direct sales has done for you in your life, that you take a stand and that we rewrite the next chapter of this industry, the next chapter of growth, and we show people what it's like to build respectable, professional businesses that are found on just the foundations of balance and professionalism and just living a life of authenticity. And I know right now, I'm still in the process of becoming. And I know that there are going to be peaks and valleys as I navigate through this season. But I will tell you, probably twice, if not more, every single week, I say to either somebody I'm talking to or my husband that I love my life and that I love my job. and that I'm so grateful that I went through all that I went through to be where I am today. Because I truly love what I get to do every single day. It doesn't mean that I don't miss some of the parts of my life from the last season. It doesn't mean that I'm discrediting it, that or none of that was good. I honor it. I love the people that I've worked with. They shaped me to be who I am today. And the leaders that I no longer lead with, I respect them and their decisions and where they've chosen to go. And I know that all of that is allowing me to lead in this new season. So here's the thing. If you're listening to this today and you're like, oh, there's a lot, like there's some things maybe you need to let go. There's some things you need to unpack that are holding you back. Maybe you have kind of, decided direct sales isn't for you because you thought you had to do it a certain way. What if you could do it different? What if it could look differently? What if you started to unpack those narratives of, I can be successful just through retail. I don't have to build a team. What if you allowed yourself to go, if I were going to build, how would it be different? Or maybe you're sitting here going, I feel like it's time to pivot. I feel like I'm being called in a different direction. Maybe the wrestling is what you're wrestling with in this season. You're never going to have all the answers. Nobody's going to give you a roadmap and say, here's all the stops along the way to get to the new business. And there's not going to be the certainty. You're going to have to be willing to take a leap of faith. But I promise if you surrender control, right, and you get quiet, you ask for discernment, and you just take one faith-filled step at a time, I promise you the road is gonna be revealed, and success is gonna move in your favor, and the right people are going to be in your life. You just have to have the courage to stand up and go after the things that you want and that you dream of having, because they're yours. You're not too old, it's not too late, and you're not behind. So many people will say, I'm behind. It's been a year. You've already built your team. Friends, there are lots of people out there, it might even be you that are listening right now, that haven't made that decision yet. You are exactly where you're supposed to be in this season. And I am here as living proof that you can rise from what feels like the bottom, right? The bottom, and you can shine and you can succeed and you can do it in a beautiful new way. So friends, this was a hard one. This was a lot to share with you all, but here we are, right? A year later, and we are doing we've done over 1 million in volume on a monthly basis now with our new organization. We went to our company convention and watched so many of our team members walk across stage and receive the accolades, and had the opportunity to work on the growth council here in the new company. And I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm just now getting into a rhythm and a routine. And I know that what's coming next is going to be even better than what we've already built. So hopefully this gives you the courage to step out and go after your dreams, knowing that you can have anything that you want. Now, friends, if you are listening to this today and this made a profound impact, number one, I want you to share it. Share it with somebody else who needs the encouragement to not give up or to go after what they want. Tag me, just do an @Melanie Mitro on Instagram. Take a screenshot of you listening to this episode. Tag me. I love to hear your takeaways and what you've learned. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you like and follow my channel, because I'm always uploading content that's going to help you, whether it's mindset, it's strategy, it's leadership in the direct sales space, because I am a lighthouse and plan on being a lighthouse in the direct sales space. And I want to show you what it's like to build with integrity and authenticity, and to build a downline that duplicates, that doesn't burn you out, and a business that brings you joy. So thank you so much for being here and being part of the Melanie Mitro Show.